All right.
Oh,
Awesome. Let me just adjust the image so that my ugly mug is on the screen too, I guess. All right.
don't clown on that beautiful beard there, bro. Make me jump on it and fucking throw it over me like a blanket.
For a while, I was trying to grow it out. I was seeing like how big I could get it, and I gave up. It was about to like right here, and it was just like I don't know if you ever seen that Christmas Chronicles movie with Kurt Russell on Netflix, where he's Santa Claus. But my beard was like that, but like wild everywhere, just like poof, and I just got so over it.
You should have kept it, bro. You should have kept it. You could have stashed all kinds of shit in there. Your wallet, a gun, whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Cool.
I'm definitely gonna make a whole intro video, but at least I got the song, so we could run our intro song this time.
Cool. That works.
Ready?
Yeah.
Ew.
Boom. There it is. There it is. Now we
Awesome.
can chat it up. Don't sugarcoat it.
Don't sugarcoat it. Oh man. So I know we talked about a couple things like identity, purpose, like relationships, marriage, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think identity is kind of intertwined into all of it, but it all kind of ties into each other, I think. But
Absolutely. Most definitely, man. Identity's the biggest thing when it comes to who you are and just the character, just your character in general. You know what I mean? Um, your character is very important to um, making new friends or relationships or even getting a job or something. You know what I mean? Um, um, it's very very shitty of a person to put on a front, you know, especially in a relationship, um, just to be with that person, man. And I've seen it. I've seen a lot of people in relationships where they they pretend to be a person that they're not, and only because that other person wants them to change. You know what I mean? So it's like they're living this double life. You know, the
secret
real people know who
agent.
the person is, but the person that's with that person doesn't really know that person because they're only trying to be somebody that that other person wants them to be. You know, and
Sure.
that's a pretty bad move, man. To bring into a relationship, man.
It's kind of like making a fake ID to get into a relationship, right?
There you go. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And the crazy thing is too is they make a lot of movies about that too.
Oh yeah, that's
You know
like
what I mean?
rom com 101. Like, put
Yeah.
on a front, get
Yeah.
into a relationship, front gets exposed, work through it, and
Yeah. Yeah. And you know a perfectly good movie. What is it? Catch Me If You Can with
hmm
Leonardo DiCaprio. He's got
yeah,
all these different
that
identities,
was
bro,
the
to make this
master
funny
of
and stuff.
disguise. Like they coined the term master of disguise for that guy. Like,
Yeah. Oh, that kid's a genius, bro. Complete genius, and it's based on a true story. So I mean, it actually happened,
mhm.
and he's just going around with all these females putting on a front. You know what I mean? Like different identity. You know?
It's funny when he would like slip, and he'd like start being this one person. They're like, "Who are you?" Like, "Oh wait," like shift into a different identity real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So let's excuse me dive in head first, man, on relationships and marriage, man. I guess we could start with well, I guess one of the biggest things in the relationship. We'll jump into the cons of the relationships, which couples fight over financial reasons, um, not spending time together as much, uh, disagreements about. I mean, there's just like so many things that couples fight about.
A
You know what I
plethora.
mean? Even like the dumbest things, bro. Like the littlest things. You know. Um, my whole take on that, man, is like I don't think people understand that in a relationship that no matter how long you guys been together, even before you got married, and even until you're like you guys are laying next to each other in a nursing home, man. Like the you guys will never understand each other, no matter what, you know. But and I always say this, you guys are teachers and students. You know, as time goes on and this relationship goes on, you are teaching this person your likes, your dislikes, and all this other stuff, and that other person is learning, as you know, vice versa. You know what I mean? There could be some things that you think that person might flip out about, but really not. You know what I mean? And you tell them this whole complete lie because you think they're gonna freak out or something. You know? But you know, when you're truthful or something, you get a totally different outcome. You're like, oh wow, I thought you were gonna, you know, rip my face off or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like
Um,
attributing something to them that before even they even have a chance to have a reaction or something.
right, right, yeah. I think even like when arguments happen, man, a lot of couples fail to realize that the main source of their argument is like, I'm right and you're wrong. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna prove my point. Well, instead of like trying to figure out who's right and who's wrong, why don't you guys try to figure out how to solve the problem instead of trying to make a fight bigger and see who's right or wrong.
Yeah,
Find a solution to the problem which you guys are got into this argument in the first place.
come together and try to
Yeah,
find a solution rather than work against each other to see like who's more right and who's more wrong. Play
exactly,
the merit
exactly, man.
game, the chit game of like I have more chits than you.
Exactly, exactly. And don't get me wrong, man. Like there's no perfect couple out there. There's no perfect marriage. You know what I mean? But I believe some disagreements and arguments and stuff. It is healthy for a relationship, man. You know what I mean? Because that's where it goes back to the identity thing, man. Like where you're putting on a front. Because if there's a perfect relationship, that shit's a complete front, man. You know what I mean?
I was
That's
gonna
just
go there,
like
yeah, because identity is really the foundation of it all. Because I think the tragic like reality of most relationships and like most failed relationships, especially, is that people put their identity or like search for their identity in that other person. Like rather
oh
than
yeah,
I would put a plug in for my savior here, rather than like finding your identity, your God-given identity. It's like they're trying to make one, and they're trying to use this other person and take things from them that either they do have or they don't have, and this person thinks that they have, and like making their entire identity out of it, which is completely unfair to the other person, because then that's putting
right.
basically building a house on top of them, just putting all this weight
Oh,
and pressure on top of them.
yeah, yeah, no, completely, man. And that's if I've ever met a perfect relationship, man, that should have make me throw up. Man. It's just like you see how fake these guys are. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
Change the
fuck,
channel.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like look, me and my wife, man, like we've been together going on 8 years, man, and we have been um, through the ringer, man. But at the end of the day, when you look back at it, bro, you look back about, or you look at it as, man, we've came a long way as a couple, as a person and stuff. And there's still things that we work on, and just as any relationship that's, or any couple that's been together for 30, 40 years, 50 years, man. You know what I mean? Still working on something every day that they're together. You know what I mean? And but it's still an accomplishment. But you guys have been together this long, and you look back at that, and you've came this long way, and you guys built this history, you built this legacy together. You know what I mean? And you built a home together, whether that's actually buying a home and buying vehicles and having children, and tag teaming the children to make sure that their education is on point, and they're clean, their hygiene, make sure they're clean cut and everything, and teaching them right from wrong, man. Matters. But I think we some couples bang because the way they were raised differently. You know what I mean?
I would say family tradition is like a huge, like, they want to like please their family. They're trying to please all these people, his family, or maybe friends, or maybe like a church or something. Some outside source that is like imposing on that relationship in some way, having some expectation out of that relationship.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like, I know my wife doesn't agree with how I raise and how I teach my boys, you know what I mean, versus on how she does it. She was raised differently than I was. I was raised on the old school, getting the belt to the ass, you know what I mean? And like, you can't tell your mom or dad, like, all right, give me a second, I'll get on it. It's like, you better drop what you're doing, or you get a foot in the ass kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, and I do believe in discipline, to the point where you've told them time and time and time again. You've tried to talk to them calmly. You've probably yelled at them. You have probably, tried to bribe them in some kind of way. Like, listen, man, I'd love to get you all these cool things, but you gotta just, come on, get it together. And if I was just fed up, you're like, all right, the belt's coming off. You know what I mean? Like, I believe in that kind of thing. She doesn't. She doesn't at all. And she won't take part in that. She won't do that. She won't spank him or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. But I'll put the fear of God in them, man. Like, they just gotta know. I know sometimes that isn't always the right way, because
I think it's just like everything else. It kind of always comes down to intention, right? If your intent is to actually discipline this child, and this is the step that you think is appropriate, then, I mean, if you're out there trying to cause harm, like, I grew up in an abusive household, and, like, it was always justified in, ways like, oh, well, like, don't spare the rod, spoil the child, and, like, like you say, like, oh, I told you this, man, I did all these things, but then it's like, it was very clearly not about disciplining me so much as, like, proving a point. And trying to, like,
right.
Like that ego, like building a, like, I'm big, you're little, I'm right, you're wrong, you're gonna listen to me no matter what, kind of, and it wasn't character building, it was just ego building, and it was like this whole ritual of, like, I'd have to go in, and my stepdad would be sitting there with his belt folded neatly across his lap, and I would have to go in and stand in this certain position, and tell him what I did wrong. And I mean, like, you're gonna spank the kid, you give him a spanking, and you make it more about, like, this is the next step. This is, I didn't want to go here, like you were saying, like, as long as you're building character and you're not trying to actually harm the child, you're trying to make a point, that it's not about me, it's about you need to listen and respect authority, kind of thing. And build character.
Absolutely. It's I mean, there's like what you were saying, man, like there's a difference. And I think some fathers and even mothers forget why they're disciplining their children, man, and they take it to a point where, like, all right, now I'm just kind of just, putting hands on them. You know what I mean? And I try to tell my boys and stuff. It's like, man, you probably think I'm just being an asshole to you, but I'm not. I'm doing this because I love you and I want you to grow up to have respect and have manners and stuff like that. And be responsible. For your own good. Because one of these days you're gonna have your own house. You know what I mean? Like, don't you want a clean home? You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to teach them that, like, don't depend on nobody, whether it's your wife, your girlfriend, me, your mom, whatever. If you are hungry, then you know what? Go cook yourself something. You know what I mean? Don't depend on somebody to cook for you. If you need your clothes ironed, go iron your clothes. Like stuff like that. And I think that kind of threw my wife for a loop too, because she was like, "What the hell? He knows how to cook? He knows how to iron? He knows how to do all this other stuff? Like what? You know?"
Self-sufficient.
So yeah, and I think that was a plus, man. But I could tell you that a lot of because when me and my wife got together, I mean, my ex, with my children, and then, you know, she has a son from a previous relationship too. So putting two broken families together and trying to make it a full family is work, bro. I mean, it is so complete work. Like, you're so defensive for your kids. You know what I mean? Like, they could be telling, your kids something so simple and not mean nothing by it. And you could take so offense to it. It's just that protection, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So then you got to work through that, you know what I mean? And then not only do you got to work through that because you're trying to bring two broken families together, you got to worry about finances now. Then you got to worry about the question of, like, am I good enough for you, kind of thing, or I feel like you're better than me and you deserve somebody else, you know what I mean, besides me, you know what I mean?
Like the needs of the children, and like you have to these children kind of have a relationship kind of forced on them, so you have to like kind of prioritize, like creating and developing a relationship between these kids. And
yeah, definitely.
I mean, kind of the same position where, like, my wife and I, like, we have our son's gonna turn 2 next month. But next month. It seems like tomorrow. It's like right around the corner. But
yeah.
And then I have two. My daughter just turned 9 on the 22nd, and then I have a son, and they live in Montana, and with my ex-wife, and so
right.
I have like my ex-wife and the two children over there, and then I have my wife and my child here, and then I'm just kind of like like the one in the middle that's trying to like pull everything together and hold it together and like try to sew it together so that it all sticks.
Yeah. And honestly, bro, when it comes to that, as much as you want that to happen, like, so bad, and there's like friction right there, eventually it'll come together no matter what, man. No matter what. Like, I've grown to know that, like, when my sons and her son, like, they kind of just click together right off the bat. But as we started, like, being together more and more and more, they started getting to, like, get on each other's nerves, kind of like in a relationship, like, you start hanging out more, then you start realizing more, you know what I mean? You're like, well, I don't like that you do that, you know what I mean? Like, don't shoot with your mouth open, kind of thing, like, that irks me, I mean, my wife don't do that, but I'm just saying, like, it's just
they always say it's like the things that you think are cute in the beginning are the things that are gonna like drive you crazy like later on.
Exactly, because I swear, man, my wife thought I was so funny. I don't think she thinks I'm that funny anymore, bro. You know what I mean? Like, that shit isn't funny anymore. Like, So,
yeah.
But it's what I think too, man, and I've lost sight of too, is making time, for your partner and stuff. Don't forget that you have a wife at home and stuff and everything, man. Don't I understand that you're a man, and you got to go out and work, and you got to provide and stuff like that, and whatever. But don't forget that you and your wife built this together, not just you. You know what I mean? And it is very important to take the time to make time for you and your wife, you know, because other than that, you're just roommates, man, that are taking care of kids that you guys have together, and there's no connection or anything like that, and that's very important, man, because I know a lot of couples lose the spark in their relationship because it's always routine, it's always predictable, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Do something different. Like throw your wife for a loop that she wouldn't expect. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's something that, and I'm pretty sure every man has failed on, in their marriage or relationship that
Not me.
they. Oh, don't you go and throw that out of you. You haven't been there long enough yet, bro. No, and that's a major thing too that people need to understand, that like when you're in a relationship or a marriage, be prepared to fail each other. It is what is going to happen regardless. You know what I mean? Even if it's the smallest thing. But those failures, it depends on both of you guys on how strong your love is and everything. If you guys could work together as partners to move forward from it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It just really depends on the couple. Are you that power couple, or are you that couple that's ready just to throw in the towel?
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it's
but
like with love, I would just add that like love, basically you're saying like in different ways, but like love is sacrifice. Like,
oh yeah,
like ultimately at its core, like to really express your love for somebody, it's sacrifice, right? Like sacrificing your time to spend with this
yep.
person, sacrificing what you want for this person's wants, like. And the more, what I've learned personally in my relationships is the more sacrifice you make, the more sacrifice they're going to want to make. Like it puts the pressure on, and not like your intention should be to put the pressure on, but like, like if you do that then the other person's going to want to reciprocate that because it feels good, and they want to make, there's a reason they're with you, like usually they're not wanting to separate from you, they're wanting to find a way to fix it. And if you just like sacrifice, you just like, if you tell them like, hey, I'm gonna go work on this work thing for a couple hours, and they're like, okay, yeah, I got stuff to do, and then you just like just put it aside, and then just like go out and be like, you know what, actually, let's just take the next 2 hours, let's watch a movie and like pop some popcorn, and just see how uplifting that is just in that moment, and then you just do that often, like find little ways, like it doesn't have to be all the time, but just find little ways to sacrifice time or something for the other person, and just watch things just build and grow.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And it doesn't always have to be like, well, we have to spend money or anything like that. Just like you said, just simple thing like that. Like, let's just throw on a movie and just hang out. You know what I mean? Like, and those little things are very, very important, man. And like, some people may not think that it is, but that day that your wife or your husband is getting that from somebody else, that's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, it needs to be taken seriously. You know what I mean? And it's not really asking for much, man. And I truly believe that it's not asking for much. That's not hard.
It's just
if
kind
you
of
don't
basic human decency. Sorry.
What's that?
I was just saying it's kind of just basic human decency. It's like a lot of people just have that lip service. I care about you, but then it's like, there's like a Bible verse that says your lips are like, your lips declare your love for me, but your heart is far from me.
Yeah, man. If you're not prepared to do things like that, to sacrifice your time to be with your partner or to build something, then you have no business being in a relationship at all. Because you're just going to tear that other person down, man, and they don't deserve that. You know what I mean? So I think I think men and women, because it happens on both sides. You know what I mean? That they need to understand that, man. You know, and finances too. Like there should be no reason to fight over finances, um, because that's not what really um, brought that relationship together. I guess you would say. Like, I mean, I guess it could be frustrating to a point where like it's like, all right, now I'm the one that's pretty much putting out all the money for these bills and keeping this afloat and stuff. But like, I can only stretch out so much. Like, and I would hope that you know any human being would be like, well, I can't let my partner just take care of us. You know what I mean? Like, because eventually that person's gonna snap. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be a 50-50, man. And now today, like, it takes two incomes to survive in this country, bro. You know what I mean?
They
You
set it
can't
up
do it
that way.
on one based income unless you're making six figures a year, or close to it, 80, 90 grand a year. So, just no matter what it takes, man, it's everything together, man. No matter what. Like, don't let your partner feel like he or she is alone in anything. Don't leave them in the dark with, don't let them feel like they're the only ones taking care of the kids, or, keeping up with the house and paying the bills, or taking care of this and this and this and that. You know what I mean? Like, because you have to understand that once you break a person down and they cannot, how do I say it, have enough energy to put themselves first too, then I mean, it's you tore that person down, man. Like, because the person has to take care of themselves first, and it may sound selfish to some people, but if you don't take care of yourself first, then how do you expect to take care of your family? You know what I mean?
And again,
I
it's
mean,
about intentions. Like, it can be selfish if your intentions are selfish, but the
right,
analogy that I like to use for that is it's kind of like I'm a cup, right? And then like I have to be filled with something in order to fill the other cups. Well, I have
right,
to refill my cup in order to be able to keep filling the other cups. So it's like,
right,
you have to, at times, you have to stop and fill the cup again, and so some people may not understand that. Well, in the church, and pastors, they call it a sabbatical, right? Or like, like other professions, they call it a sabbatical, right? Like, where you go and you literally recharge yourself, like, and that's where you take time to like refill yourself, like, like you need to recharge. Like, it's
sure.
exactly like you were talking about. Like, there's nobody that can just like go and go and go and go and pour into others constantly, like.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't have one foot out the door and one foot in, man. It's either both feet in or both feet out. You can't half-ass through a relationship, man, because that ain't a relationship. A relationship means that it is two people giving it both their 100%, but doing things 50-50. You know what I mean? So, I know
Well,
there's a lot of people out there that go through the same thing that every other couple go through. Like, it's so crazy, bro. Because like you can see it on TikTok. Like, they even make skits out of it, like jokes about it. You know what I mean? Like, you're not the only couple that's going through it. You know what I mean? Like, but find a reason to to make your partner happy, man. You know what I mean? Because in that whole time, that partner's been just thinking about you. Like, just what am I doing wrong? That he doesn't pay attention to me, or she doesn't pay attention to me, or it's just like it's not there no more.
yeah,
You
because
know?
you take it personally, because it's like, well, what is it about me that they're not wanting to spend time with me and get to know me, and help me to with my purpose, which is the other thing that would tie into all of it is, you have your identity, which should be not tied into the other person, but you should have your own identity this person should have their own identity, like each person their own single person that's complete and whole, coming together with a common goal, like a purpose, like
Yeah.
having children, raising children, owning a home, whatever, like however
Right.
that structure is, like that's the typical normal structure we think about, so I mean, not to get all weird and start
No, no.
but
Yeah, yeah,
like that's
no, no, I get
that's
what
the
you're saying.
common
Yeah. No.
common goal is the family, like, but a purpose, like some people are doctors, and there's great couples that are doctors together, and they like their research together is just like so great for the field of medical research than what it would be in the two of them. That's just like another example besides just the children nuclear family, but it's like a common purpose that
Yeah.
you can help each other toward, not trying to because if you're just trying to find your identity in each other the whole time, like there's nothing being accomplished, right? You're just kind of just running into a wall
Right.
over and over and over because your identity isn't in that other person. That should just be like something you already bring to the table, not something you're trying
Right.
to find at the time. Like,
Right. And another thing that I see in relationships too is that how the other partner is trying to change, that partner. You know what I mean? Like, don't try to change your partner unless it's really, really necessary. Like, if you know that it's very unhealthy for the relationship, then by all means, bring it to your attention, tell them how you feel, and try to figure it out. But if you're just trying to change a person because something so small that really doesn't, really affect anybody, like, don't do that to a person, man, because don't forget, in the beginning of the relationship, you fell in love with that person the way they were. So why are you trying to change them 1-2 years down the road? You know what I mean? And like I said, unless it's necessary and it's very toxic towards the relationship, you know what I mean?
and you
Just
should be going
yeah,
back
don't.
and figuring out, like, at that point, if you're at that point, you should be figuring out, like, what is the things, like the first love, like what are the things that we started doing together, like that made us kind of fall in love and
Fell in
start
love
going
with.
back to that. Like, hey, did we go fishing whenever we had free time together? We haven't been fishing for 10 years. Like, let's go fishing. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Like me and my wife, man, we used to just go cruise, man. Like we'd load up the kids, we just jam out on music and just go cruising, and we would all talk, man. One thing that I like to keep in my family, and I know that I've noticed that a lot of families don't do now these days, is actually sit down and have dinner. You know what I mean? It's the families just like so spread out. Like the kids are in front of their room and their TV eating, and the parents are. You know what I mean? Like, no, dude. Like I like to have my family sit at the table and eat, dude. And the TV could be on, but that's just the TV being on. I'm not even paying attention to the TV. It's just having something on in the background.
so there's no
But
awkward
yeah,
silence.
yeah, I just don't want to hear everybody smacking, bro. You know what I mean? So it's just, and it's a good time just for conversation, like or whatever, man. And we've always did this, man. From the time we started like dating and stuff, man. We've always sat at the table as a family and ate, man. And I'll never forget the conversation of that me and my wife had with our kids about cussing and stuff. You know what I mean? Like at the time, my oldest son, I think he was 9, and my second oldest was 7, and our youngest, he was like 5 or 6, dude. And I had brought that, and I don't think cussing is a big deal, but because regardless, the kids are gonna do it, whether they're at school or they're by themselves or whatever. Kids are just gonna be kids. And I told them, listen, I don't think it's a big deal, but you got to have respect. You got to know when and where to say it. Like, don't be disrespectful and start going off around older people, like your elders and stuff. You always have to have respect for your elders. And don't be doing that in front of me and your mom. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to hear that. If you guys are just out there with your friends and you guys are just doing whatever, then whatever, but be respectful, be mindful around the people that are around you. You know what I mean? And they're just listening and stuff, and the littlest one, the 5-year-old, he goes, "Wait, so we get to cuss? So like we could say like motherfucker?" And I swear, like my wife's eyes just blew up so big, man, and like I didn't think I heard that right. You know what I mean? And it's like, see, now he's heard it before. You know what I mean?
This isn't the
And
first time he
he's
said
been
that with
using it.
confidence and practice.
Yeah, he's been using it. So it's like, what? But you couldn't help but laugh. You know what I mean? But it's just like, just I don't really think they really use that very much. But just like I said, they're gonna use it. Be mindful. Just be respectful around the people around you and stuff. You know what I mean? Don't because that reflects us. As parents. Like, oh man, I bet you their parents just let them run amok and stuff. You know what I mean? Look at the way they talk and all this other stuff. And it's like, oh, I don't want that coming back on me. I told you guys how to say it. So, but it's there's just some things you can control with kids that they're going to do regardless, but you're hoping for the best, that they'll be smart. You know what I mean? And that all goes based on how, you and your spouse, raise them, like how much you put that effort into them to like show that, hey, it paid off, man. All our hard work to just give our kids, manners and be respectful and stuff like that paid off because they are very respectful, whatever. They know right from wrong,
I would say like it's like with the cup analogy, right? It's like kind of like those what do they call them, like champagne water fountain things or whatever, and like you have the cup on top and you like you being that cup being filled, and then you should have like like your wife and being filled, and then like her overflowing, and then into the kids, and like everybody kind of feeding off of the overflow, and then and then like to use that like with the partnership with your spouse, is like if you're pouring into them and you're sacrificing yourself to pour into them and make sure that they're good, they're everything that they need taken care of is being taken care of, and then they're doing that for you, then it's like you think about like two cups, and if you're like, oh, this is my cup with my portion, that's your cup with your portion, do it. But if you both have them, you're just both pouring them back and forth. You have so much more, if that makes sense.
Right.
If both cups are just kind of pouring into each other to make sure neither is empty, then it's just there's a lot more that's happening there.
Right. And kids look at their parents' relationship, man. Like they learn a lot. You know what I mean? And that's why you got to be really careful, man. Like I like to think that the reason why that I look forward to as far as a family and a relationship is based off of how my parents were. You know what I mean? Like they've been together for over 40 years, man. You know what I mean? And they still love each other, man. You got a good
example.
What's that?
Oh, I said you got a good example.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why you got to be really careful, man. You don't want to give your kids the wrong impression about a relationship. You know what I mean? Like you don't want them to think like it is all about fighting and disrespecting each other and stuff like that. No, it's all about taking care of each other and caring for each other. You know what I mean? And showing that the love prevails, man, no matter what. Like I said, of course you're gonna have your disagreements and stuff like that, but don't do it to see who's right or wrong. Do it to figure out to solve the problem and how you guys can move forward from it. You know what I mean? So, exactly. But I hate to cut the chat short, man. We're at our hour, and I
think I got everything out that I wanted to say on the subject. So.
That'll work, brother.
We can always talk about it again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I enjoy having these discussions, man, and I know we'll have more in the future. We just gotta see what days we're actually gonna make it a permanent. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So I hope everybody that tuned in got some type of advice, you know. So
Appreciate you.
all right, my brother, time.
We'll have these recorded and can post them up and everything. So, yeah, appreciate you for watching out there, and thanks, Eric. Love you, bro. We'll talk to you later.
I love you too, brother. Later.